everybody, welcome to Wing Talk. I'm your host, Steve, and today we have a very special episode. We've got no topics, so we're going to just have a nice, lively chat, but we do have one of our favorite guests of all time, somebody who keeps coming back over and over again, just to have kind of like a hang with everyone to talk, and that would be Crunkle Floop is here. We'll be talking to him in a minute, but first we want to talk to the pilot in charge, Mr. Mark Hoffman. Mark, how you doing?
Yeah, hey Steve, I'm good, thanks. I just unplugged my camera because I forgot to add my headset and it was beeping at me like crazy, so sorry for that. Yeah, as you already said, no topics today, so the chat, if you have something you want to talk about, just throw it in, otherwise we will have a nice chat.
Okay, that sounds good. You know what, Mark, I went to a party yesterday. It was a birthday party for one of my friends who, from junior high school time frame, and he's from a German family, right? And his parents were from Germany. And I pulled him aside and I asked him, I said, Steve, is there ever a point of arguing with your parents? And, you know, since they're hardcore German, he said, absolutely not. So there's... When they're right, and you cannot debate it whatsoever. So awesome. We also have with us today Mr. Darren Lyons, all the way from the UK. Darren, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm very warm, thank you. Yeah, it's
this is more and more like Spinal Tap. Every time we start, it's kind of like just the minutes before the show starts. It's we're still getting things plugged in and get it working.
yeah. It does seem like
That's
that.
mostly you, Steve.
Yeah.
We all have video today.
You need to get one of those giant eggs that open up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always, because sometimes he doesn't show up. But this time we're really fortunate to have him back again. Luke is back, and we're checking out his hairstyle once again because, this is it. He's... what's it look like now? This is what.
Is that what's going on? We're doing a hairstyle check today. That's what's going on. Just a bun in the back, nice and convenient. No other changes, pretty standard.
Yeah, he's got a very beautiful girlfriend now that we don't talk about so much, but she's definitely affecting the style of what you look like, Luke, right?
Yeah. I mean, definitely at the moment with all the heat, I'm wanting to cut it all off. Go, completely bald, have a permanent fan mount on the top or something like that. Other than that, yeah.
Is work going good for you?
Yeah, works fine. Yeah,
Oh.
And I'm in the new house now, so you may notice there's a lot more space here today than normal. Yeah.
Wait a minute, you were living in like one of your parents' houses before, right?
No, I was just in another house.
Okay.
I was renting a house. Well, I'm renting this house, but this is another rented house. But now I actually have a full workshop rather than only having...
I was going to say, there's no bed in the background.
No, the bed is in that room. Yeah, I have...
Are there any planes in the bedroom now still, or quads, or...
No, that has been strictly mandated by the girlfriend that there are no planes in the bedroom. So that may change, but, when push comes to shove, but for now.
Oh, that's great, man. This is wonderful. Congratulations. Hey, but with us today is Crunkle Floop. Crunkle Floop, how are you doing, bro?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Hot, like I only live up the road from Darren, so it's been warm today.
It's been warm.
Yeah, literally went up. I live near the beach and went for a swim. First time this year in the sea, and it was lovely. So yeah,
so
not too bad. Can't complain.
Fantastic. So are you close? I mean, I know that Luke and Darren are somewhat close to the coast.
I'm 250 meters, so I don't know what that is in old money, to the beach. But unfortunately, there's a pub just slightly in between us.
Oh.
So I don't often get as far as the beach. I get lost.
So I'm already planning my next summer vacation to come to stay at your place.
More than welcome. Always welcome.
That's fantastic. Great. Okay, so as we start off this no topic topic, I do have one question. What would you think is going to be the game changer in iNav that would really take things to the next level? So everyone jump in with your own ideas.
Fix the Horizon Drift.
VTOL.
VTOL?
VTOL. Vertical takeoff.
Oh, okay.
I quite like it.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
mine-
guys,
That's a topic that comes up in very often in the group. To have actual rear VTOL with full transition of hovering mode and fixed wing mode.
Hmm.
Isn't
we
there?
actually get posts, don't we? It's like, INAV will die if you don't fix Horizon Drift and add VTOL.
Yeah, I mean,
ridiculous.
Doesn't seem to be.
Then INAV,
half
is
the
dying
business.
for the last 4 years or so. I mean, it's developing pretty fast for that. For that's actually dying. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's doing really well.
the one thing I think that would be kind of a game changer is, it would probably be based around ESP32, which is to have a game overlay onto INAV where you'd actually start shooting at each other. In like,
Like FPV combat.
yes.
yeah, I mean that's already there, just not with the full stabilization flight controllers, just for the OSD and control pass-through. So the controls are kind of manipulated if you get hit to get erratic inputs or limited throws and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure if you need a full-fledged flight controller with stabilization if you want to do some kind of air combat. I mean, you usually for this type of stuff, you use something cheap you can throw together in 5 minutes and just fly.
Yeah,
Right.
profile foamy with just a little gun on the front. That would be
Yeah,
right.
yeah, or a spec wing, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just crash into each other. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on Wing Talk today. Yeah, that's our show. Bye, everybody.
Alfredo in the chat just made a good point. Yep, Horizon Drift is the #1 topic for him because VTOL could not come with a good without a good AHRS. If you have drifted Horizon and you switch into hover mode, then the copter will stay in that position. That's actually a good point.
So
Yeah.
where are we at still with? I mean, I know we discussed this with the developers, and we kind of gone over this a couple times on Wing Talk. Is there anything really changed with AHI?
Not really.
Because as I understand it, it's a big, very long process to try to fix this. A lot of math, and it's a lot of work, and you might not be able to fix it, right?
Yeah, at least not in a fast way. What I just recently found out together with Bonafide Pirate, he is by the way also in the chat, is that some changes that were made in INAV since 4.0, in combination with the defaults I have put into INAV since 3.0, are actually causing more trouble with Horizon Drift if you have a transition between straight flight and position hold, especially when you go into return to home. So what Keith had experience with this Dart 250G was he goes into return to home, the plane flies back very straight. Everything was perfect, but then when it starts to loiter, the horizon drifted slightly when it get into the turn, but then the altitude very quickly fluctuated so strong that after around 3 or 4 rounds, it nearly crashed on the ground. And what we found out was that the softer altitude pits I applied or I implemented in the configurator since 3.0, in combination with the initially slightly tilted horizon drift, caused a strong overshoot of altitude, and this overshoot and constant throttle up, throttle down, throttle up, throttle down made it even worse. So it really quickly tilted so much that the plane was basically unstable. And yeah, we fixed that. We went back to the old pits from 2.6, even a little bit higher, and after that it was much more stable for a longer time. So I guess I will change these pits back to these ones, or to more aggressive ones for the altitude controller for the 5.1 bug fix release.
So what you're saying is your settings sucked.
Yeah, because of your changes.
Probably.
Yeah.
I get blamed anyway. So was it this morning or yesterday? Oh yeah, I found a bug in INAV. That thing you changed wasn't me. I get the blame.
bit like searching your return to home altitude at like 3 centimeters. Who would do that?
Yeah, 30 centimeters. I just had in the back of my head that you have made this change that where you can link the pit profile to the battery profile, so you automatically change the pit profile depending on what cell count you put in the plane.
Yeah, it's easy enough. I did the change profiles with programming, but it's all similar. It's all.
You didn't mention INAV 5.1. I think one of you mentioned the other day that that's coming out fairly soon here.
Yeah, 5.1 is on the schedule, I think, for end of August. That's what Pavel told me. With the 5.0 release, there was a new feature implemented that allows you to disable the gyro initialization on boot up. And the problem is, and for some reason no one really noticed, that on every boot up now, this feature triggers a complete configuration save. Because on every boot up, the calibration of the gyro is saved to the EEPROM, and this, of course, saves all settings. The problem is with that, you get a lot of write process on your flash, and if you just power on your flight controller to check if everything is powered and then you unplug it again, the chances are very high that you unplug it during this write process and you wipe your whole configuration. And that's the main reason why now with the 5.1 release, every automated configuration save command is removed from INAV. Even auto trim will not save automatically anymore, or possibly. So you have to do the stick command if you want to save your trims at the end of the flight. The only thing that still keeps auto save is if you enable the flight statistics in the CLI. But yeah, that's hidden anyway. But by default, nothing is saved automatically anymore to prevent these configuration wipe issues.
Interesting. So is that become, how big of an issue has this become?
Yeah, I mean, it came up, or we had more reports of configuration wipes since 3.0 because of the continuous servo trim that did a save command after every flight already. And now with the save command on every boot and after every flight, it's even more obvious, or we get even more reports of configuration wipes. So that's why the decision was made to disable all autosaves.
Okay, so that's going to be pretty much something that people, if you're flying INAV 5.0, you should be jumping to 5.1 as soon as this becomes available in a stable release.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are also plans. I think Pavel had an idea how to do something. There's also the developer who implemented this new feature of the gyro calibration skip. He also made some changes to test a more rigid configuration that cannot be wiped that easily by splitting the save process into smaller chunks. And Konstantin, the founder of INAV, he also had the idea to integrate a redundant configuration storage. So you have two configs saved all the time, and they are every time you save the other one, or it switches between the configuration banks. So if you corrupt one, it automatically reverts to the old one. So you cannot lose your whole configuration anymore.
But well, you know, it's the first one's corrupted though, and it will write back.
Because every time the configuration is saved, INAV also creates a checksum, and the checksum is then also stored with the configuration. So if the checksum and the configuration doesn't match, it knows it's corrupt, and then it can jump back to the old config instead of just wiping everything.
Okay. As long as we're checking the status of everything right now, let's jump out of INAV for a quick second. Have we seen inventory improve with things like foam planes?
Not really looked.
No,
to be honest.
haven't really looked.
Okay. And then what about the chip shortage and flight controllers? Is it getting better, worse, or about the same?
Not really looked.
They're getting a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
I just had a talk with a customer from my main job, actually, who works also for a very big company, worldwide company, and he said that the chip shortage basically is nearly done. So all the industry chains are in a recovery phase right now. The problem is now the reason why the chip shortage is basically over, because they have now completely finished prioritizing what they have to produce first, and they removed a lot of old hardware from the production lines. That's also the reason why flight controller manufacturer had to switch between different barometers. They had to switch to different SoCs, to different IMUs, because all the old hardware was just set end of life. They don't produce it anymore to free up the lines for the more modern stuff. And that's, on the other hand, one of the reasons why the components still are expensive. First, because of the chip shortage, because we had to wait for the parts so long. And now it's because more modern hardware, more expensive hardware has to be used, because it's the only stuff that's available. But we are from what I heard of, is that right now we are on a good way to get out of that chip shortage topic, and everything should go back to normal, unless the next big catastrophe happens.
Nice bit of positivity at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when the next ship stucks in the Suez Canal, you know.
It's very true.
So, I don't know if you happen to know this, but when they make the chips, they're made in kind of, the whole idea was with the ARM processors was that they were going to use old. Well, the way that when they manufacture a CPU of any kind, what happens is the first yield is the first batch. It has very low yields on it. And that's why these processors are so expensive. So when you get down to like 7 nanometers, that is really hard to do. And that is why, only a few out of 100 actually, a small percentage, like 5-10% work, and then 20%. Then after a while, what happens is things get a lot better. The yields go up as the manufacturing process continues to improve. So when you get to something like a 28 nanometer right now, you can get pretty much 100% yields out of those. What I'm kind of curious about is when they've gone to this whole chip shortage, have they switched to other nodes that are, thinner wafers as far as the processors are concerned? Are we going to see better flight controllers? Because I've seen things like the H743, which seems to be a massive step up, and I'm just wondering if that's from a different node. These are the kind of things that it's really hard to get information about in the industry. Mark, we don't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. I would say you cannot really take the technology PC processor is made of, and directly transfer it to our flight controller stuff. I mean, this flight controller stuff, that's a complete different story. These are made by very, very old and big production types, like the current flight controllers. Steve, can you mute? I think your microphone is hissing sometimes. Like the desktop PCs are now in the 5 or 7 nanometer production range, and I think the STM32 chips we have in here are like 20 or 30 nanometers in structure size. So you cannot really compare that. They are still made for low cost applications. Just 1 second. There are also questions in the chat again. Yes, Bonafide Pirate, the auto trim saves on disarm. That's true. And Just FPV says, I've got oscillations with it. I turned it off by default since 4.x. Oscillations by continuous servo trim. That doesn't really make sense. I don't know how that would happen. I mean,
you could have oscillations from servo trim if sorry, I had the idea in my head, trying to get it to words a bit more difficult. So if the rate at which it's trying to find the new angle is quick enough for your plane, then while it's trying to find a new angle, it can go through a full oscillation, or through a full, and then while you're adjusting for the set point here, while it's now up here, and then when you're adjusting to here, it's down here, and you get into an oscillation like that.
I think you are thinking of the auto level feature.
That is
Not the auto trim.
There we go. So that's not it.
Yeah. So
I thought that was what he was talking about.
The auto level, yes. I think you can adjust the adjustment factor, the adjustment speed for the auto level in the CAI. There's a value for that. But for the auto trim, actually, as soon as the auto trim is working so slow by default, it takes a few seconds. It just translates the I term into the trim of the servo. So as soon as you come to that point where the plane is not pitching anymore or not rolling anymore, the I term will go to 0 and trim will immediately stop doing anything. And it does
mean that you should definitely do an auto tune before you do an auto trim, though.
No, not
because otherwise your I term could then be too high because it's set too high. I
term is not tuned anyway.
Oh, is it?
I term is not auto tuned anymore. So
I'm gonna mute myself.
All good. And also the continuous servo trim has some deadband. I'm not sure if the I term output has to be above 1 or -1 or 0.5 and -0.5. I think the output is 1 +1 or -1. That's the deadband of the continuous servo trim. So it still has some play where it doesn't adjust the trims at all.
Okay.
Based on the I term. But
so what are you experiencing then?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Just FPV said in the chat that he had some oscillation issues with continuous auto trim, so he turned it off. But I think we have to look into that specifically.
It starts waving intensely at high speeds, which definitely wouldn't be the auto trim.
Nah, that's not the auto trim. Then if it starts waving in angle mode, for example, it could be the feed forward, it could be TPA, or it could be the angle strength. If it's in acro mode, then it's most likely the I term too high. But if it's only at high speeds, I would say you should tune the TPA and not reduce the I term, because the I term on stock, I mean, the stock I term is, if I remember right, on 5 for pitch and roll.
Yeah.
I think it's 5. I have seen it oscillating on the, or I have seen in Caipirinha massively oscillating on the pitch axis, but it was during auto launch, so it could be that the stock feed forward was too high and not the I term. I've not seen I term oscillations yet with the default bits. So yeah, it's hard to tell. We have to see some kind of DVR or black box log or whatever to actually analyze the data.
So Mark, I'm gonna throw this out to you so you get some time to work on this. You sent a video yesterday from DJI with their filming production. That was you shared it with us in the admin group, and I was wondering if you can load that up, and so we can talk about that maybe in a few minutes here. But in the meantime, I'd like to find out, what the hell have you guys been flying? Because haven't really talked in the last month, and so what have you guys been up to as far as have you been getting out there and flying at all? And if so, what have you been flying? Darren?
Oh, okay, I'll go first. Yeah, I've been out the last 2 days. I've been flying, so that's been great. I've flown my AR wing on INAV 6. I've flown the Talon 250G. I've flown an Albabird and something else, I think. Oh, mini.
Wait a minute, that Albabird is new. When did that show up?
I bought that off of a friend, Neil, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I've just got round to flying it now. Yeah. Some video issues that I need to sort out, and actually pitch oscillation in angle, but I think there's too much throw on the elevator, so that's what's partly what's causing that. But it's quite windy today, and it handled it very nicely.
So what's your feeling about that plane? And now that you own one, you've had the Dragon as well, so you're a good guy to ask about this.
Yeah, but the Dragon I've not actually flown properly yet. I need to repair it after a failed maiden, and Chronicle Fluke knows all about those, I think, with that particular plane. But yeah, no, at this stage, I wouldn't want to comment because I really need to fly it more and tune it more. But it's got a lot of potential, loads of power, just flies straight out your hand. So if you can't launch an AR Pro, get an Albert because it's easy, very easy.
Okay, that sounds good. So, Chronicle Fluke, what have you been flying?
Yeah, so coming back to what Jeremy was saying, I love the Albert Bird. It's one of my favourite planes. I found with the pitch oscillation that, with mine at least, and Mark put me onto it, it was the pitch rate. And after auto tune was way too high. So I think I dropped it down to about 90, and that's pretty much spot on. So it was just the rates that seemed to solve it for me.
Yeah, mine's on the full rate, so it'd be 90 at the moment because I didn't actually do the auto tune. I've just left it, so it's quite placid. Just where I was getting video issues, I didn't want to sort of risk the auto tune. But it has got a lot of throw, so I'm going to dial that down, and I think that will help.
Yeah, I think the Albert Bird, based on its design with the big throw and the big elevator, you can really push it into a speed stall. But the plane is by design so stable that it will not tip stall if you make an overspeed pitch. And I think that's the reason I've seen the same thing on the drift. Actually, if I have too much throw on the drift, it will basically spin around on its wing without actually going forward. It stalls without dropping wingtip, and this makes Einaf think that the plane can handle this high rate. But then if you try to normally fly, and Einaf just wants to make small corrections, it uses too much throw, and it thinks the rate will be like 200 degrees per second, but what actually comes out is just 100 degrees per second. So the pit controller gets confused, and this can then lead to oscillations, because then they feed forward and the rates don't match together. I hope that was clear enough.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Coming back to your question, Steve, what else were we flying? The plane you can probably just make out behind me there, my little Finwin X-Bird. I have that's an interesting build. It's basically set up purely for waypoint flights, and it has no FPV feed whatsoever. So it records onto an SD card from the camera, and I set a waypoint flight, I send it, and I use the Bullet GCSS telemetry. So I get telemetry sent back to my phone via 2G. It goes off, does its waypoint flight, and I don't know what it's recorded until it comes back again, and I just land it. So that's been great fun. It's just changed the dynamic slightly.
Okay, can you explain this a little bit more? Because this sounds really interesting.
Let me go grab it.
Yeah, I want to see this. This looks like
yeah, you can see it. So it's the camera in there. So this is actually just a GoPro Max cover. And I wanted to have a plane that was completely waterproof and flying through rain and everything. And another reason to do it. But so there's no antenna for FPV. And it records onto, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the camera, but just in there is a RunCam DVR board. So the video comes from the nose camera to the FC, gets the OSD overlaid onto it, and then outputs straight into this DVR board. And that's it. It doesn't transmit any video whatsoever. And back here, this board here is it's a TTGO core board. and it has a SIM card in it. So what it does is it takes the MSP data from the flight controller, sends that to a cloud server, and then I can just log into the cloud server on my phone or laptop or whatever device is connected to the internet, and then get the telemetry with unlimited range. So the advantage in that is I can send it on a waypoint mission completely out of radio signal at, say, 20 meters altitude over the sea, and still get telemetry coming back to me, although I've got no video.
It's Bullet GCC, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's also what I used in the past, and it was so funny because I was flying here in Germany, did a waypoint mission with my plane, and Glenn has in the UK logged into the server and watched my flight telemetry from the UK while I was flying here in Germany. I also made a video about that. It's really fantastic too. I just hope they will continue to develop it, because it's pretty much stagnated since the release, or since the release.
The other trouble we seem to be finding, because I've waxed so lyrical about this, a few of my flying buddies have all said, "Oh yeah, we're going to get onto it as well." But the boards.
I was going to say that this is such an interesting topic. We should actually probably do a write-up about this and put it on our website, because this is a whole new dynamic of iNav, really, if you think about it, because what you're doing is really way out there as far as putting a plane together that has no video, and you just send out waypoint missions. And I mean, you talk about ultimate faith right now. You know, you send a plane off, you have no idea if it's coming, other than telemetry, you have no idea if it's coming back.
Yeah, basically. I should have a t-shirt that says "I believe in iNav." But, yeah, no, it's
in RTH we trust.
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
that's real trust.
At 20 meters altitude, eventually it loses crossfire signal. So I set the waypoint to continue on after a failsafe, but I still have the telemetry. So if it does go down, I know roughly where it is. But I tend to fly out over the sea, so if it does go down, I know where it is offshore somewhere. In which case I have to get the boat out. But
Caroline Tyler RC in the chat says telemetry as long as you pay the data bill. That's actually a very funny point, because in Germany we have a service provider. They offer you a prepaid SIM card with 100, or I think it's now 200 megabytes free data. You don't have to pay anything for it. You don't have to recharge it whatsoever. And they just every few days send you an advertisement SMS or so. And I use this SIM card from this provider because I don't have to pay anything. With 100 megabytes, I calculated I can fly, I think, 180 hours roundabout per month before the data volume is used up. And even if it's used up, they just throttle your performance down to 64 kilobit per second. But that's still enough for the telemetry. So unlimited flight time, and it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, pretty much. It's great. I'm really enjoying it. I was just going to say the only trouble we're having is a few of my friends, or one in particular, has bought. He's ordered 3 TTGO call boards, and they've changed them slightly. So the version 1.3 has a 5-volt input, whereas the version 1.4 doesn't. It only has a 3.7 volt LiPo input on the back, which means you can't power it from the flight controller as easily. So I don't know whether we can find the older cool boards, or there's going to be a workaround for that.
I'm not sure what version I have, but mine also have a 3.7 volt LiPo connector where I can connect one, and that even gets charged while the board is powered by 5 volt. And if I disconnect the power input, it will still be powered by the LiPo until it goes under a certain volt, like a backup battery.
Yeah, so that's the same one as mine. But if you buy one now, the one you'll get, instead of having the 5 volt input, which you currently have on yours, it's 5 volt out. So they've changed the schematic slightly.
But you sure that you cannot use that for normal 5-volt input as well? I mean that doesn't really make sense. These boards are made for Arduino projects, for example, or Raspberry projects, so they have to be powered by 5-volt. That's everything we have available. Maybe 3.3-volt, but then the LiPo input makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it hasn't worked with the 5-volt input the way that my old board has. So
that's
right. I'm sure it's solvable. There's still a little workaround there, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you use the 2G version, the all-in-one board, or do you have a 4G with a separate modem?
I just use the 2G. Okay. It doesn't need any more than 2G.
Yeah, when I tested it, I had the problem that the connection was somewhat unstable, and if I lose connection, sometimes it takes up to 30 seconds or so until it recovers and has the next tower. With 4G, that should be much faster, and I think 2G gets disabled in Germany anyway. I think somewhere next year or 2024.
Okay, that's good to know. So better upgrade my board then.
Yeah, that's the reason why I only have one right now, and but the 4G modules are getting cheaper and cheaper. I think I can now get a setup for 50 or 60 euros, and at the end I will only put that in 1 or 2 planes at all. So
it's so easy to hot swap it between models.
Yeah, totally. That will be, by the way, interesting, because I need to make some space or layout changes on my XUIV clouds, because the clouds get basically everything. There's Bluetooth inside, there's a iNav radar inside, there will be the Bullet GCC CSS inside, and with the other components, I basically use up all of the UARTs of the F765 WSE I have in there.
Very well there.
Insane. So Luke, he's like,
yeah.
The topic is, this is kind of like when we drag the teenager out of his room to ask him questions. Can I go back in my room now? Yeah. Listen, what the topic is? What have you been flying?
Yeah, I haven't really been flying anything, at least not since we last talked. I've been very busy with moving house and work, and yeah. I also graduated since the last Wing Talk, so I was like,
wait a minute, you're
taken up for that. And
wow, congratulations! I didn't know you were still in college.
I was up until about a week ago, yeah.
No, because I thought you left college and you went to work for this company, and that was the end of that.
No. So I left college for a year and then went back for a year. So it was an internship, or whatever you want to call it, but a paid internship. We don't really have internships like you do in the US, where it's slave labor for a year. But yeah. So I went back to university for a year. So that was from September until now. Not really a year, but as long as you get. And so I've been working 3 to 4 days a week for the last 9 months or so. Now I'm back to full time and trying to catch up with what I've missed and what I've missed.
Congratulations! Well, that's exciting. What's your degree in?
Electronic engineering. But I work as an aerospace engineer. So yeah.
Oh wow! Are you done with school? Are you going back for a master's or anything?
I have no idea, to be honest. Haven't really decided. Definitely not doing anything this September. The next academic year. But I definitely got the grades to go back and do something, so maybe it would make sense. So
maybe aerospace for a master's degree, something in
yeah,
aviation.
Exactly. So the original idea was I already do plenty of aerospace stuff or aeronautical stuff, so it seemed a bit stupid to go and do aerospace at university for my degree. So I did electronic engineering instead. But maybe. Oh, sorry, I'm getting. I think it's your microphone, Darren.
That's probably my mic.
Oh, yeah, I can still hear. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Yeah, so it was to go and do electronic engineering instead, and then try and get a job in aerospace, so I could transition back to doing aerospace stuff, and that bit worked out. So now I guess maybe a master's in aeronautical engineering, aerospace engineering, or maybe mechanical engineering, or one of those disciplines. So. Yeah.
Wow, that's really exciting. I was wondering why you were not doing much, and I didn't know you were just working in school the whole time.
I was doing university and up until about a few weeks ago I was doing university and working 3 to 4 days a week. So
in the future we know where we get our titanium motor mounts and 3D printed metal parts for our planes from.
So hopefully. So hopefully now I'm in the new workshop. I'm not doing university anymore. Everything should be calming down a bit now, and I should have a lot more time soon. But as I'm learning, and this has been a learning experience, all of a sudden, all the things I've promised over the last 9 months are coming up. So, all the times I said, oh, in 9 months I'll be free to do that. Now all of those things are coming up. And I owe time back to work and, for moving, whatever. So, not just yet, but it's coming, where I'll be able to do a lot more hobby stuff.
This is kind of really exciting to see the growth of what you've been doing and over the last couple of years, and just kind of a lot of big changes for you. You got the new girlfriend, the new pad. The job is kicking in full gear, even though you can't talk about it. You have to kill us. But
well, you can see some stuff in the background. That's a bit of a sneak peek of what I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, most of what I work on for work is multi-rotor stuff rather than fixed wing. But
you can't talk about it. Just don't try to attack the UK. It won't turn out good for you, right? That's it.
Yeah, don't tempt your fate.
Fantastic.
I can't remember where this question actually started. Oh, it was what have I been flying?
Yes.
The summary of that is I've basically just been flying whatever's easiest to fly, really. So a lot of the Striker, just because it's a nice, easy, fast plane. Literally haven't touched a single thing in the last 9 months. I've flown it at least, once, twice a month. What else? Yeah, that's it. That's really a few of the 3D planes. I haven't really flown anything INAV. I got the big twin FPV plane, my homemade one, out a couple of times for testing at work. Nothing too much else really, unfortunately.
So the question I have for you, because you were born in 2000, I know your age because it's always whatever year it is. We're in 22.
Exactly. It's very easy.
Very easy. You're 22 now. Did you develop, because I know you had the interest in RC through your dad at a young age, is that what pushed you through this whole course of the development going into college with getting an EE degree and working in aerospace?
It wasn't so much, it was my granddad, not my dad. My dad does do engineering, but he works in a paper mill. He's a very engineering type person, but he doesn't do anything to do with planes or anything like that. It was my granddad he flies full size, only as a hobby, and he flies models. And certainly that got me started on it. But I guess it's really that I have plans for what I want to be doing in 10 years. No, nothing too solid, but all of them include having lots of workshop space, lots of money to use in that workshop space, lots of nice toys, and this was, the best way I could see to getting there. So, whether it works out or not, who knows? But
okay, well, exciting! Congratulations! This is fantastic news. Looking forward to seeing what you'll be flying here, what you can get your hands on to fly. And it's kind of like foam's kind of rare these days, but hopefully you can get some fun projects working.
Over the last, while I haven't been able to do very much, I was looking at the Flying Fish, because that looked like a nice, fun, small twin plane that, I'd be able to fly whenever kind of thing. Slap a F411 WSE or whatever the latest thing in that sort of form factor is. But it's just so expensive. I could never justify £100 for this much foam. Like, it seemed crazy. So, yeah, never did. But maybe I'll get to making something like that soon enough.
I tell you, there's this little trainer plane that Banggood had about a couple of years ago. It was all EPP. It was like a Bixler, but it was about a 1 meter wingspan. And I can find it again. It had a weird name on it, just a bunch of letters. But anyway, it's a piece of crap. But you take it and you reinforce it with carbon fiber, and you put in better linkages in it. all of a sudden it's a very compelling plane, and it's something that can fly in just about any wind. So it's probably similar to the Drift, but just more basic. And so little things like that are out there. Tons of these little planes are out there. So I'm sure you'd find something along the way to pick up.
Yeah, maybe. Certainly the first thing on the list, once I have some more time, is doing composite stuff. So building lots of carbon fiber planes to clutter the room with. I'm not sure exactly how a flying fish-like plane fits into that, but I'm sure I'll work it in somewhere.
Fantastic. Hey, Mark.
Something that size would fit in around 300 miles an hour.
Who knows? 300, 400, the sky's the limit.
Or the speed of light in this case.
Yeah, so you're like 12S on something that weighs, what, 190 grams? And
right. Yeah, give it a go.
There you go. You take a 12x6 prop and you shave it down to about 2 inches.
Yep.
Yeah. That's just the way you like to move things. That sounds awesome. Mark, I know you've got a variety of interesting planes. Definitely have opinions on it. What have you been flying over the last couple of months?
Yeah, the last couple of months, I think mostly my Dart 250G, the 4S setup, and my AR Pro. That are usually the 2 planes that always come with me. Today I was also flying the Talon 250G again because I wanted to test a few setting changes in INAV. Yeah, beside that, not too much. Doing a few hardware changes in the Funjet because the GPS just wasn't working until I realized I installed this crappy HDLRC GPS module that's not working anywhere. And yeah, I'm still about to build the Nano Drag, but yeah, right now I have pieces scattered everywhere. A few parts in my kitchen where I started to glue the rings. I ordered new wing spars because the problem with the Nano Drag is that the wing spars are in imperial measurements because they come from the US, and in case one breaks, there is no chance in Europe to get imperial measure wing spars that fit into each other, and a replacement would cost me about 40 or 50 euros just for the spar. So I decided to completely replace them by metric ones, and yeah, they just arrived a few days ago, so I have to work on that. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything I flew the last month. Yeah. Steve, you're muted.
Thank you. One of the planes that I was going to ask you about, since you like the swept forward wings, you got a couple swept forward wing planes, have you considered getting the Atom RC Dolphin?
I thought about it, but at the end I decided not to get it because yeah, I mean from the flight behavior, what I saw, it seems like somewhere in between the Alpha Strike for speed, because it can fly fast and very pitch stable and fast roll, so it behaves a little bit like the Alpha Strike, and my AR Ring Pro. So and the Dart 250G, it's like a mix of these three from the flight behavior. Darren,
it flies so much nicer than the AR Pro.
Okay.
So much.
You have it, so.
Yeah, obviously I've not flown this one, but I did Made in My Friends, and yeah, just it flies so nice, and it will fly very, very slow as well. It's very stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't crash well though, do they?
Probably not with the long nose. But to be honest, he's actually
on
pushed this
impact
quite a bit, and it's not been too bad. I think laminating it will definitely help, but it does fly very, very well.
I have a friend who has one, and he's crashed it quite a few times, and he said it goes back together very nicely. But I think he kept his pretty light, so
yeah,
that might be the key.
Yeah, my friend's running 6,000 milliamps up front, so it's quite heavy battery. But
yeah,
yeah, but
kind of.
Yeah, so in general about the Dolphin, I have not seen any big negatives. So it seems to be a very, very nice plane. a good flyer, but I actually try to reduce my hangar size a little bit instead of adding more and more planes. So I might get rid of one or two during the next weeks or months. So yeah. And the Nanodrag is my latest addition, and as I want to make the Nanodrag modular, and that's what pretty much consumes the most time and work on that plane, so I can quick swap between the big 40-inch rings I have and the 28-inch rings, and also remove and attach the boom tail just when I need it. So this plane will be pretty versatile for different things to do with it. For example, when I want to go low altitude speed cruising, I go with the big 40-inch wings and the boom tail to get roll stability. If I want to do proximity flying, I use the short wings with the boom tail. And if I just want to rip around and have some fun with it, and if I risk some crashes, I just remove the boom tail because it's more sensitive to break, just to have a plane to rip around. So it will be very versatile by that, but that adds a lot of work. And after that is finished, then I can decide what planes I get rid of.
That's kind of important, the planes you get rid of. So do you have any contenders of planes you'd like to get rid of for right now?
The classic AR900 might be the first one that goes. And
but you have like 3 of those, right? So if one goes,
no, I have built 3 in one after one was crashed, for example. So I just have one of them. That's my AR900 speed setup. I think I have it over here. 1 second. So that's this one, with the F411 wing flight controller, the old one, the first generation, and it's still fun. I will fly it again when I am in the Fun Park Meppen in August, and after that I will see if I completely retire it maybe or give it away. I'm not sure right now. And the second one that might go in new hands is the Rafax, actually. I love it. It's still a fantastic plane, but the Nanodrag, I think, will have similar capabilities to the Rafax in terms of stability and flight behavior, so it doesn't make sense if I keep 2. And with the Nanodrag, I have a lighter plane that I can quickly disassemble, throw in my car, and take everywhere, while the Rafax just takes more space, the way it is built right now.
Yeah, so the Rafax was made by Albert, and that was, he started his own little company around the same time that we started the INAV Fixed Wing Group, and Arthur, I should say. Arthur, yeah.
Yeah, Arthur Hendricks.
Arthur Hendricks, right. And that was really, it was an interesting plane, but the problem was I think around 2020, 2021, he started having issues getting foam. That was one of the main issues. Plus, he also got busy. He does like 5 different jobs all at once, and he has, I think, 4 kids under age 13. So he's just a busy guy. Plus, he's got a PhD in marine biology, just kind of like a real Renaissance man. But those Rafax planes were absolutely stellar, wonderful flyer planes. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he also had the T-Trax, and a friend of mine had that plane as well, with the very small one with twin motors. I think that it has 70 centimeters, or was also wingspan, and it was blazing fast with a proper setup. I'm not sure if he's in the chat right now. A friend of mine who had it, he put 2 1507 motors on that one, and he reached like 180, 190 kilometers per hour, and he was just whipping between trees. He crashed it a few times, but it was keeping up pretty well. But yeah, the T-Trax was really cool. Yeah.
I tried to buy one of those at Twins. It's I don't think he was able to do it. I think it was maybe when he had the frame shortage. It was 2021, but that looked a cracking little plane.
And the foam that they had on these planes, like the Rafax and the T-Trax, unbelievable. It's a 1.9 pound foam, but I don't know where he got it from. The stuff was, you could you drive nails with it. It was so firm.
My Reflex, before I added the TPU nose for the GoPro, I just had the foam, the laminated foam in the nose, with a cutout for the camera. It flew with, I think, around 50 or 60 kilometers per hour, head on into a tree stem, and it had nothing. Not even wrinkles. I mean, it's crazy. It really it was circling. I accidentally cut the power, didn't recognize, and it was continuous circling down until it hit the tree head on into the stem.
I think it was a good plane. Probably the only difficulty with it is a little bit of a large plane. So if you were to make the wingspan a little bit smaller, would have been really. I know it would have changed the dynamics a little bit, but something that would have been like the plane to have for iNav fixed wing group.
I mean, it's not that big. It's, I think, 1 meter wingspan, pretty much exactly 1 meter. The bigger problem is that you cannot disassemble the wings if you have not much room for transporting. Back then, when I got it, I just had I didn't have a car, for example, and I had to put it on my backpack. And 1 meter wingspan on my backpack, left and on the sides, I had the rings sticking out. On the bike or on the electric scooter, it was a little bit tricky to go through the streets.
It looked like Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, pretty much.
To infinity and beyond.
So, but yeah, as I said before, it's a great flyer. It just doesn't make sense to have it beside the Nano Direct then. Otherwise, I would keep it. Maybe I will still keep it. I'm not sure right now. I did some rebuild. I did some relamination. I just have to put in the servo linkages again. I can fly it on 4S and on 6S the way it is right now. Maybe I will keep it. I'm not sure right now.
Yeah, that's like a item. Once you have that, it's you won't get it again. So to get rid of that, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who would want to buy it from you if you do want to sell it there in Germany, because it is such a great plane. It's so very fortunate. Well, I'm telling you what, we're coming up to a break right now. So what we're going to do, Mark, when we come back from the break, let's, if it's okay with you, let's roll that video from DJI with their new video. They have a new video broadcasting system from DJI that Mark has opinions on, and I have definite opinions on, and I don't think they're exactly the same opinion. So we're going to debate this whole thing here, and it's something to fight about. And then the guys will weigh in and see what they land on this whole thing. So
yeah, then the chat can scream again, DJI hater. Okay, we'll have a look. No problem.
This sounds great. So we'll see everybody in 3 minutes. Can people hear us right now?
Yep. We are live.
Okay. We're back on live again with Wing Talk. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do something really strange. We're going to run a commercial, more or less, for DJI. But the reason we're doing this isn't really for us. For most of the iNav fixed wing pilots, this is something not for you. But this is something that we've helped finance over the last few years, unless I think Mark's point of view. So we're going to run the commercial, and you see what we're talking about here. Then we're going to discuss it. So Mark, take it away, please.
Yeah, so just as an extra point, what Steve is referring to, that in the past I often said that the DJI FPV system is basically dead right now, or is dying, because it was just a test bed for DJI to test their technology and before they implement it into their commercial stuff. And this is basically, from my point of view, what happens right now. And already a month ago, I just stumbled over it. They released a preview of their DJI transmission system that is supposed to work with multiple of their camera systems, like their industrial drones, their gimbal systems, the Ronin, for example, and so on. And yeah, I just want to show you a quick video to explain what I mean here. So let's go. Okay, I've muted the
这么多年，我们特别期待大家能把航拍机的图传用在地面上，
因为我们在工作中对无线图传的要求还是比较高的。
So yeah, some marketing blah blah.
Technology previously used on DJI drones has evolved into something more powerful. Introducing DJI Transmission.
And this, in my opinion, is basically the FPV system, just with more background data.
Experience. Equipped with DJI's latest O3 Pro transmission technology, this system offers an impressive 20,000-foot transmission range. It also supports video transmission at 1080p 60 FPS with end-to-end ultra-low latency. With superior stability and anti-interference capability, DJI Transmission supports seamless automatic frequency hopping between 2.4 GHz, 5.8 GHz, and DFS frequency bands, automatically scanning the electromagnetic environment for the optimal wireless channel. Users can also swap channels manually to avoid interference between devices on large sets. By mounting high-gain antennas, signal strength can be enhanced by 40%, and transmission capability can be boosted even further, which is ideal for more complex signal environments. The 7-inch 1500 nit wide gamut touchscreen delivers rich and authentic colors, even in strong lighting conditions, providing tools for composition, focus.
So yeah, I think now they are just talking about the additional features for the cinematography stuff. But what I wanted to show is the RF link system. And from what I think is that this is basically where all the money and all the development went that was previously made for the DJI FPV system, basically to come to this as the final target. And now they are done. They have developed their technology. They have it in their commercial and enterprise solutions. And that's the reason why I think that DJI FPV is at its end of development. So, Steve, you wanted to say something about it.
Well, and there's actually quite a bit more to this technology. Like, for example, you can control the cameras. And they hook up to the Sony mirrorless cameras, and you can control pretty much every aspect of the camera, from shutter speed to f-stop with that. So you can be literally somewhere else, and you can have a chase vehicle chasing around, like this motorcycle in the example. And that is, you know, it's kind of like, I know I look at it a little bit differently because, first of all, I came to the hobby realistically from a photography point of view. The original thought was I was going to put cameras on my planes and do aerial photography. That never worked out. But the idea is that since I live so close to Hollywood, that is such a big part of what happens here in Southern California. And I know a lot of the filming is run away. It doesn't even happen in our state anymore. But whatever you can get to improve the technology, because as a consumer, we want better and better looking stuff. I mean, when you look at old movies and you see what passed for aerial photography would not pass in today's world. And now when you're looking at something like this, which is basically there's a boom on a car that follows someone around and they can go high and low. It makes really great dramatic images. But I know that your point is that you don't feel, well, you kind of felt like they use the hobbyists to finance the technology so that they can get into the film industry and really kind of take over in the film industry for using drones, using this technology to make bigger bucks, because these things are not selling at, to people who are complaining about spending $600. You're just selling to people who are spending $50,000. And, that's where the big money's at. Crunkle Floop?
Yeah.
Yep. It's like you have something to say about this.
No, I was just looking at the price of it. Just wondered if I could stick it in a plane, but it's a bit pricey. It's about $2,000.
Yeah, I mean, it as I said before, it's basically what they, from my opinion, what they just have tested is the video link, the RF stability, especially for noisy environments, multipathing, all that stuff, because that's the best way to test it is in FPV, because we fly everywhere with that stuff. To have the video transmission flawlessly, the telemetry flawlessly, and also the controlling back, because you have your DJI FPV controller, you have gimbal inputs, you have button inputs that's all sent back. Of course, DJI now has ramped up the amount of data that is transferred. They go 1080p instead of 720p. They have much more information, like the color information, brightness information. They have their focus control, everything as a bidirectional link. But at the end, it's all based on the same base technology, what I think, like the DJI FPV system. They had their, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, they have their drone control links before. They have their OcuSync 1, OcuSync 2, OcuSync 3 for their classic drones, but that had also, always had some latency to it and only very limited metadata transfers for control links and all that stuff. Yeah, but now they have their low latency technology, and the FPV market was the best market to test that in the actual field.
But don't you think it's going to come back to the FPV market eventually? Because as they improve this technology for the movie, they're going to try to sell it back to the FPV community with newer things that competitors will have to. It raises the bar, and competitors will have to compete against that in order to compete in the market.
I don't think so, because now the main goal was to have the foundation for the technology, and that's already done. And now from that point, they can improve in small steps based on that foundation that they have established. There's no need for them to bring that technology or the upgrades of that technology back to the FPV market, because they don't care about it. It's too small. They don't make enough money from that.
Let's see. The other thing I was going to say is that living in Southern California, the movie industry can do things that you would never think is possible. Like if you wanted to get a permit to shut down a street for an event, it's an act of Congress practically, but they do this all the time. They shut down city streets, they shut down freeways for the movie industry. And the reason why that's important is because in the FPV community, when you start having this, more and more stuff's showing up where it's kind of hard-coded into this technology, especially FPV, is something that people are used to. It's going to be a lot harder to get us out of the skies. As back in 2016, 2015 timeframe, it was probably easier to sit there and go, you FPV people, you're evil. But now it's, now that movie studios are investing in especially in city council people who get elected and help finance their campaigns, this stuff doesn't go away very easy. And so when you have something like this to me shows that there's commitment to this technology that they're spending. I know this is not FPV, this is just video transmission we're talking about, but this is more along the lines of like we're starting to see that this is becoming more entrenched. All the technology that they're representing is becoming more entrenched into the filming industry, which does have a lot of sway in California. And I think also with the Federal Aviation Administration as well as what happens in the United States.
Also, you're totally right in my opinion that for the film industry that stuff is all great, but I'm still focusing, or I want to focus that on the FPV market because that's why we are here. So for the FPV market, that doesn't really matter what they at the end do in the film industry, as long as nothing comes back. A good point is Alfredo Mugo just asked in the chat, any news about DJI FPV Goggle V3? In my opinion, this will not happen. There will be no V3 goggle. The V2 will be the last one, and this technology will slowly die on the market, in my opinion. And of course, Caddx will continue to sell the items as they are right now. There just won't be new technologies that are invented. And the crazy thing is, and what even made my opinion on that stronger, all this walk snail stuff that happened in the last month with the Avatar HD system, for example. I think it was more than a year ago, or nearly 2 years ago, when Caddx said, yes, they are working on canvas mode for DJI FPV. Caddx said they are working on it. They said it in a Facebook post or in a comment or whatever. Caddx cannot work on it because DJI is developing the technology, and they didn't open it up. I'm sure they didn't open it up to Caddx. Caddx was just a contractor who made all the logistics, all the advertising, and all the customer support stuff. But they didn't produce anything, and they didn't develop anything. And now Caddx comes, if you ask them for canvas mode for the DJI system as a software update, we have a new system over there, look at the Avatar that has canvas mode. That's their answer now. So even Caddx, in my opinion, says, no, there is no further development. That you can read that between the lines.
Yeah, I mean, DJI, that's why I never bought into their system, is they didn't support the community. When we had Paul basically begging DJI on a video about a year and a half, 2 years ago, hey, put some support in for iNav, I kind of knew that they pretty much didn't really care about the FPV community other than the people who buy their products. So that's why I never bought into their system. And now what you're saying is that that system is pretty much they're done with it, and they're gonna be using it, the technology, for other things, which is fine.
So yes, I just had to laugh. Charlie RC in the chat. Caddx said canvas mode is coming. Caddx is Walksnay. Walksnay Avatar HD has canvas mode, so they told the truth technically. Yes, but they could have said before that you all have to buy new hardware to get canvas mode. I mean, the actual question was, can we get canvas mode as an update for DJI? But there is a clear no at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of leads us into, like, what else is out there besides DJI if this is going away, which is, of course, there's HD0. Are there any other technologies as far as that would be viable?
Speaking of HD0, I just today posted a picture or a link in the Fixstring group about FR Sky with their, after they published now the pricing of the X20 HD. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed. I expected to be the price around 700 or so, but yeah, it's at the end just $550. So it's a price raise of $90 between the X20S and the X20 HD. So the whole HD0 upgrade for the radio is just $90 more. And I think
not quite.
Why?
because there's also an X20S HD, which will be about $100 more. The difference between the standard radio and the HD radio is about $200. But you get antennas with it.
I'm not sure if you're right at this point, because I looked on the website and the table that only names 3 radios. The standard.
That table's about a year old. Yeah, that graphic's about a year old. Yeah, I've been speaking with my contact, and there's the X20, there's the X20S, which is about 100 more than the X20. Then there's going to be an X20 HD, which has got the X20 with the HD system in it, and an X20S HD.
So the X20 HD they released now is basically the normal X20 without an S.
Yes.
So they don't. It doesn't has the CNC gimbals, for example, the high-end CNC gimbals.
Yeah, it just has the CNC plate gimbals with plastic.
Ah, okay. Then,
but the S will be out.
Then they should update their website, because that was a little bit misleading.
Well, it is about a year old, that graphic.
Yeah, but also the web page. Let me have a look. The web page for the Tandem X20 HD transmitter. Let me check that out right now. When I go to the description, gimbal, high precision Hall sensor gimbals with all CNC metal panel. Okay. Never mind.
The panel is CNC machined.
Yeah.
The S will be the same as the X20S with rotatable gimbals and full CNC.
Okay. So then I have to revise my previous opinion. Then it's $190 basically.
Yeah, but you get the patch antennas where you don't get that with HD0. You've got to pay an extra $70 for the patch antenna or the antennas.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a cheaper upgrade for the introduction or the switch to HD0. I mean, $190. That's about the price of a full VRX module. A little bit lower than the full VRX. So yeah. Okay, never mind.
But I said the VRX module, you don't get antennas with it. So you have to buy patch antennas and Omni antennas.
Yeah, okay, that's another $50.
At least, well, $50 for the patches if you get the True RC ones.
Hey, let's be honest. We keep the normal ones that are actually worth the price.
Nothing wrong with True RC. They're good stuff.
Yeah, Franco.
I was just going to ask. Am I correct in thinking the X20 runs on Ethos?
Yes.
Is that can one use Crossfire with that now? That was always a thing that was not possible.
Very shortly. It's been in the pipeline for a while.
In 2 weeks.
It's been mentioned for months, like 9 or 10 months since Ethos first came out. But there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline coming out quite soon, which you don't need to be inside or anything. There's been posts put up on their groups. There's a new transmitter coming out to replace the X-Lite, which is the Twin Light or something like that, which is Express LRS compatible, and obviously that uses the Crossfire protocol. So naturally, the Crossfire protocol needs to be there to talk to it. So yeah, the Crossfire will work with it quite soon. And also other things as well. I'm hearing, so possibly 4-in-1 modules, and because I mean, at the end of the day, FrSky sell a 4-in-1 module, so they want to support it. But yeah, it's all coming. And to be honest, Ethos is getting really, really nice now.
Okay, that's good to know. Maybe the next thing to buy then.
Yeah, well, you can have a play
move into HD0. I've got rid of all my DJI stuff, so I need something else.
Since you brought up ELRS, what are our comments on ELRS now that it's been out for about a year? Mark's not saying anything. Mark, you're the one.
I don't want to talk about it.
My comment, I still like it as being the only open source radio protocol. No other comment.
I used it. I've tried 868 megahertz ELRS and very quickly didn't use it because it just didn't play nicely with other flying buddies running on Crossfire. Crossfire basically completely took it out, over-swamped it, and I'd fail safe after fail safe. I then tried.
Oh, sorry.
So carry on.
I was only going to say I also used it and stopped using it purely because of the lack of high bandwidth channels. Channels that have more than 2 positions. Yeah.
I tried. I then moved to 2.4, which was a lot better. There's just a few too many limitations though. For the full resolution channels, you've only got the 4 channels. So gimbal control, you can. I think it's called hybrid mode, where you have 256 points or something, which is it's okay for a gimbal, but
Wide mode.
is it
Okay,
wide
yeah.
mode? Is it?
Yeah.
I did see that feature, but I tried it before that came out, I think. That's only come out recently, hasn't it? The last few months or so?
Wide mode was version 2 that came out with. I mean, you can use it with a gimbal, but I still thought it was a little bit jerky.
Didn't version 1 only come out like 6 months ago or something, though? Or am
I think it's probably longer than that, but it's just there's been so much noise about it.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean, Express RS is it. I know I do go on about it, but it is something I do want to like because of the open source nature of it. But for me, I still just prefer R9 or Crossfire. It's I mean the version 3 does have I think you can use more full resolution channels. Then there are some other nice little bits in there, but I as many nice stories I hear about, oh yeah, you can fly, 40 kilometers on 5 milliwatts or whatever they're trying to. I also hear stuff about I fail safe to 8 kilometers. There was one post.
Oh,
We lose Darren. I think
now it's gone.
We've lost him.
Did y'all lose Darren? You were talking.
Am I still?
There you go.
Are you back?
Am I back?
You're back.
You're
Yeah.
I think it was on the iNav. Yeah, obviously the ELRS developers are trying to kick me off the chat. But yeah, there was I'm sure it was on the iNav Discord, and someone fail safe to 8 kilometers, and then on the way back at 3.5 kilometers, ELRS actually disarmed their plane.
Wonderful.
Mark said that's similar to the FreeSky bug that we had ages ago, but it's not really. It was 5.5 kilometers away.
I mean,
or 4.5 kilometers away.
We still have the FrSky bug on ACCST. I mean,
yeah. Who is that?
Who cares?
Like you, Darren, I really wanted to like the LRS. And I like the open source element as well. I think also in that lies the danger that hardware is open to everyone, and where you've got the likes of FreeSky and Crossfire, they're committed to make sure that it all works because they've got an invested interest in both the hardware and the software. As soon as it becomes open source and everyone drops on the bandwagon, that's where you have problems where things don't talk to each other. I'm very pleased to see that Motec are now making receivers because I trust Motec. They use the flight controllers. I don't think they're making transmitters yet, and that might well be the turning point when there's a company like Motec getting behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, a lot of posts when you say, why are you using LRS? One of the first things people say is because it's cheap, and to me, it's like, yeah, but this is what's flying your plane.
That's literally the last reason I want to use a radio link. The cost is, it's not a consideration, but it is the last consideration. It needs to be reliable first and foremost.
I mean, there's a reason why people use Dragon Link, where the receiver costs $100 or even more.
Exactly.
Because you fly expensive stuff with it, and there's a reason why commercial drones that cost 15,000, 20,000 euros don't fly with our FrSky receivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, when I did the iNav fixed wing group ELRS thing, I actually, I had to get one to test it. So I got the happy model thing because it was cheap and I wasn't really planning on putting it on anything. But using that did make me very wary of it because that the happy model stuff is not good at all. But yeah, I mean, so you do get what you pay for, but I still am just sticking with FreeSky and Crossfire. Just
Yeah.
it works. Why, use another system when I've got those and they're absolutely fine.
I don't know, but it seems like, just my opinion, if a guy is getting into drones right now, what the secret sauce used to be was get a TX16S and put a Crossfire module on the back of it, right? But now it seems to be get a TR16S and put ELRS on there, and this is good for. We're really starting to see right now the needs of the drone pilots are so different from the needs of a fixed wing pilot. The drone pilots, or the race quads in particular, they need very good resolution. They need something that penetrates extremely well, because they're going in and out.
1000 hertz update rates.
What was that?
They need 1000 hertz update rates.
But when you start flying, it's a great formula for what they're doing. But to say that this is a perfect formula for long range FPV for fixed wing pilots, I don't know if I agree with that. What do you guys think?
Oh, the needs are completely different, and that's it's so apparent with things like ELRS and also HD0. I mean, all the focus on HD0 is latency. As a fixed wing pilot who flies line of sight distances over the water many times over, I don't really give a toss about the latency. I want range. So yeah, the difference is the divide is going like that very, very quickly.
Yeah, I used to think like that, but then Mark convinced me otherwise. And the way you get better latency is having smaller packet data, but the smaller packet data means that when you're further away, there's less chance of it getting corrupted. So it effectively sort of lowers the noise. Well, it doesn't lower the noise floor, but you've got much better chance of picking up the packets and piecing them back together to getting something usable. But yeah, as far as latency goes, I think all this pushing to extreme latency is a bit of a fad and a bit of a sales pitch.
I mean, just as a quick explanation, the data are transmitted as ones and zeros. That's baseline. And at the end, it depends how fast do you switch between 1 and 0, and how narrow are these flanks to or how much time is between a 1 and 0 flank, because the shorter this time is, the harder it is for the receiver to determine if it is noise that's peaking around or if it's the actual signal. If you transmit data slower and you have longer high times, longer low times, you can still distinguish between the noise and the actual signal. So slower signal transmission speed means more range at the same power level at the end. And that's basically what Crossfire does if it goes into the force telemetry mode, where it switches from 50 hertz default rate into just 4 hertz update rate, because the data rate goes so low that it can only transmit 4 channel updates per second, but it can go so deep into the noise floor that you can fly like 250 kilometers on 1 watt transmission power.
Interesting.
And Express LRS is basically doing the opposite. They go faster and faster and faster. I'm not sure. And they make the trick that they only update the primary channels, the primary 4 channels, at a high update rate, and everything else much slower. And by that, they're reducing the package size so they can deliver these update rates still with a low data rate. That's basically what they are doing. In simple terms.
Yeah, and the new version, apparently they've got 16 channels as well, so that's just going to make the gap between getting the other channels even longer potentially.
Interesting. I've been watching Josh Bardwell's videos on the ELRS topic, and his whole thing now is that instead of using RSSI, he has these formulas using dB, and he goes to this long explanation, and he said, but if you get interference at the very end, if you get interference, it throws everything out the window. So now he has three separate things you put on your OSD so you can measure how your RSSI is doing. And this is getting a bit too complex. I mean, for a fixed wing pilot, we just pretty much want to make sure our RSSI is still coming in strong, but we don't, it's not exactly to sit there and do all this kind of, well, I should say that when we're out flying, it's usually, if we're going far away, the RSSI doesn't really change all that much in a period of a few seconds, whereas race quads, it changes dramatically within a period of a few seconds. So our needs, once again, are very different from what their needs are. So we need a good, stable link, whichever link we decide to use. It just has to be the best. And you also brought up the topic of 4-in-1 modules, and it's just kind of like...
Just on what you were talking about, Steve, I haven't watched Josh Bardwell's video, but if you want all the data for a given link, there's always been three things that you've needed. You've needed packet transmission rate, or also, often called link quality, so how many of the packets are getting through. You need the signal-to-noise ratio, and you need the total signal power received.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, only with those three things can you know exactly what all of those things provide different information to help you know what your signal is doing. So it's not a new thing that Josh Bardwell's doing, if that is what he's doing, to get information about the link. The only difference is, as far as I'm aware at least, INAV hasn't been able to display that information. And when I say INAV, I mean INAV and FrSky and many systems. As far as I was aware, the only real solution was to get all of those was Crossfire with Betaflight for a very long time. So
you're still on old INAV, Luke.
I am still on old INAV. I may be completely wrong.
Yeah,
3, 4, and 5 may have all of it.
Signal noise ratio's been, I think it's 3.0 it came on.
Let's see, I've been missing out.
Yeah.
So
that was with Crossfire. I don't know if...
I was going to say, that's what I was just about to ask. So I do have one play on 3.0, I think. I couldn't find a way to get... I do remember looking into it, so it must be on 3.0. I couldn't find any way to get R9 working with SNR.
R9 has no SNR method.
Yeah, so R9, so it's only Crossfire and the LRS, I think, that have...
And you even have, or you not even have link quality on R9. It only transmits the link quality as radio telemetry back, but not to the flight controller. That's the problem. Oh, by the way, not even FPORT 2 has link quality to the flight controller.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe we can have a word with FrSky.
Yeah, we should. We really should. They have to work on that access protocol.
That's another reason for me to switch from R9 to ELRS, to be honest.
No, that's an interesting point. Do you see any value in switching from R9 to ELRS, Luke?
Yes, I do. I really hate the fact that at the moment I use like 5 different protocols. I use FrSky 2.4 GHz, FrSky 900 MHz, or 868. I use RFD 868. Oh, sorry, I even have DragonLink, although I only have it on one plane. And I have Spectrum DSMX. It's completely unmanageable. I want one system that can do everything. That I don't need massive range. 50 kilometers is more than enough. That should be possible with anything that's 868. I should be able to get that reliability, that range, that everything with something like ELRS. It's open source. I'll always be able to get hardware for. That's what I want. I think ELRS is somewhere close to being there, and then I'll have to rip every receiver out of everything I have and swap it over. But yeah.
Yeah, that managing multiple protocol types is also the reason, or a problem for me, or it was a problem for me. Some of the newer planes I had on 2.4 gigahertz, like for just short range stuff. Then I had some planes with R9 868 megahertz. Then I had the first plane set up with Immersion RC Ghost, so that's already the third module, or the third type. And at the end, it started to get a mess, and I decided, okay, it doesn't matter. I don't need the reaction time of Ghost on any fixed ring. I have replaced all the 2.4 gigahertz and Ghost receivers now with R9 receivers on all my planes, and the Ghost stuff will go into my quads, and that has to be done till mid of August anyway. And then that's it for me, because with my radio, or with my small radio, this one I primarily use for quads anyway, so I can add the Ghost receiver here or the R9 for the bashing planes. And with my TX16S I fly my fixed rings only, never a quad, so I have permanently mounted or attached Moxon antenna on there for my R9 system, and that's everything I use. The biggest problem, by the way, I had with the 2.4 gigahertz FR Sky, it interferes with my goggles. For some reason, with the Sky Zone and also with the EV200D, every time I use 2.4 gigahertz FR Sky link system, I get digital distortions in my goggles or even screen flickering. I don't know why. I've not seen that on for anyone else yet, but with both radios, with the TX16S and also with the X-Lite. I don't know why.
I want to add something else onto it. Another feature. Yeah, again, I have no idea whether ELRS supports this. I know that Access now supports this, but I can't use Access for other reasons, such as range, or you at least Access on 2.4. But I need to have it so that I can have two radios bound to the same model. Obviously, only one being used at the same time, at one time. But at the moment, I am completely, tied to the specific chip in this radio bound to all of my receivers. I can't just, pull out another radio, swap over the SD card, and go and fly everything with a different radio. And I really, really hate that. Don't know whether ELRS supports that, but having two radios with two ELRS transmitters and both of them being bound to the same receiver for me is, massive.
That works with the passphrase pairing. You just add the same passphrase word when you compile the firmware in Express LRS, and as soon as the passphrase is the same, it will that will work. Yeah, so that's actually in a more complicated form on R9 Access, or in general on FR Sky Access as well. But you have to use the first radio to share the receiver with the other radio. Yeah. And
for a few planes where I actually need to use that, I have switched to Access. So that's actually, I guess, a sixth protocol, because this radio isn't compatible with Access. So I have another radio for the Access, which it's a nightmare. But that's not ideal. If I want to go and fly everything in one day, I have to bring like 4 radios with me. Be swapping out modules and
So you could have a radio like there are some R9 modules, radios, newer versions that run Access and also will work with ELRS. So that's not an option for you?
Ideally, I just have everything with the ELRS. What it would most likely be is actually, let me get the example transmitter out. Hopefully it's the wrong one. Oh, stand by. So this is my second transmitter. You can see I barely use it for Access. Ideally, I quite like this transmitter because it has a roller wheel rather than the buttons. It's just an X9D plus SE. Ideally, I have this radio running on OpenTX because I know how to use it, with an ELRS module that I can flash with, I can have bound to all of my planes, apart from 1 or 2 that I'd keep on Access, just for the, the known reliability, if you like, rather than whether it can go 100 kilometers or not. And that would be one of 2 radios I'd have now to get one identical to this, to use as a backup. And that would be it. I'd be able to swap an SD card, and that would be everything swapped over.
So Darren, can't you also put ELRS on the R9 module, and also things like the XM Plus?
It sounds like ELRS does pretty well everything I need in a combination like that, apart from things like fully proportional channels for enough channels or whatever.
I just got
little things. Legality, I prefer it was a little bit better. Yeah.
I just got remembered in the chat that also Crossfire has multi-bind, but I have no idea how that exactly works.
I mean, yeah. I should have prefaced this when I said it. I'm not saying there aren't solutions to this. I'm just saying that none of the protocols I currently use have multi-bind apart from Access, and that it kills me because I have certain planes I need to be able to use 2 different radios with. And
when you just get an R9 Access module for the new Tyrannus, and just put them all on Access.
I can, but currently everything's on this Tyrannus. I only have like 2 models on the new Tyrannus because they need to be for this. But I
just copy them on Companion. It takes like 5 minutes.
No, because then you need to rebind.
Oh yeah, of course. But the
rebinding is the problem.
With Access anyway.
Oh yeah. The rebinding is the problem. Not the putting on Companion. I've done all that already. Switching back to this radio and whatever in updates. No, it's the rebinding.
I want to get back to something you said though.
Protocol as well, though.
Yes, but I only want to do it once. I have a full Tyrannus worth of models, nearly 55 models. I want to do it once for the rest of my life, not every time a new protocol comes out. So, yeah. Maybe I'm being too ambitious, I don't know.
Well, the question I have for you, I mean, we talked about the 3 things that they display, signal to noise ratio, and in place of RSSI. You went over that. You're not the typical pilot, though, that flies FPV.
Yeah, that may be a fair point. I mean, most people probably don't care about having a backup transmitter, for example, or being able to fly all their planes with 2 transmitters, or there are lots of things where, or even just having as many models as I do. I have like 4 or 5 RC cars which are included in this. But for me, they're very, very nice to have features.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess is that. When I look at this, I look at having not 1 but 3 more elements on the screen to keep track of. That to me sounds like something. I'm trying to make my screen have less elements on it, and this just adding complexity to something that maybe isn't really needed for fixed-wing pilots. But you feel it's important. So why is it important?
Specifically referring to having SNR, total signal power, and packet quality, or packet.
Yes.
So packet quality, they all just give different measurements of what's going on. Signal to noise ratio should tell you it should be your best measure of how far out you are. Once you get down to 0, that's no more signal unless you can read below the noise floor, and that should go down at 6 dB every time you go out double as far. So if you know that you can go down to 0 dB and you have 6 dB left, then you know that you can go double as far as you currently are. If you're 1,000 meters out, you can go to 2,000 meters. However, that doesn't protect you for other things. Say if you've got interference or bad packets being sent or something like that, then your packet quality will come down. And you also want to know total power because it tells you about the environment around you. If you've got really high total power but a low noise floor, then you're in a really noisy environment. And that tells you about whether, say, you've got low signal rate because you're far away or because you're behind a hill, or if it's because your buddy's just turned on his transmitter right next to you and you can just tell him to turn it off, and that's your problem solved. They all give different information. Yeah.
Okay, so
if you know how to use it, very powerful. And I wouldn't like to say I fully know how to use it, but I certainly appreciate them all very much. And you can use them with some systems, so like Crossfire. Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting stuff. The one point that you brought up, and that is, essentially what we're talking about is flying something to the end of the range where we're about to go into failsafe and then return to home. If it's set up in INAV, we'll bring the plane back. But One thing that I asked in the group a number of months back was, how far do you people really fly on your typical flight? And so, are you pushing it all the way out? Are you trying to get to 30, 40 kilometers out? Or are you realistically flying less than 6 kilometers? And I think that in the group, the vast majority of the people said they're flying less than 7 kilometers on their typical flights. So I don't know, Darren, what are you doing on your typical flight? You don't really seem like the type that really wants to go out to 50 kilometers to see if you can go that far out, right?
To be honest, for my typical flight recently has been within a kilometer. I've been just really enjoying. We've got like INAV radar. I've just been really enjoying chase flights and proximity stuff lately. So yeah, last time I went out a bit of range, I lost the plane. Yeah, flight controller exploded and it went in the sea. But yeah, it was good up until that point. But that's not really stopping me. I'm just enjoying the proximity at the moment. And the stuff I was doing today with INAV 6 is actually all about the radar. So it's been helpful for testing that.
But someone who's different, has a different take on this is probably Crucklefoop here, because he likes to go as far as humanly possible.
I don't know. I mean, lately I've been limited to DJI range, but regularly flew out to the limit. So that's 13.3 kilometers. What's it, 8 miles? What I liked about it is that I could go out and basically I'd chase yachts that were flying, that were sailing past where I lived. So I took great delight in flying out there and buzzing these yachts, who would have no idea where on earth I came from, and getting some quite nice footage. But yeah, I regularly flew out to that limit. I'm now sort of in the market for a new HD system that will let me push that bit further. Because I do like flying out over the water. Most of my flights are out over the sea. Probably will be until I have a Darren and my flight controller explodes. But just one of the things you mentioned before, Steve, which just made me think, and I've forgotten once or twice. Fortunately, it's never been fatal. But with failsafe setting into home, we don't have that as a default on INAV, do we?
Hey, Luke, can you mute yourself? Thanks.
Sorry, so I did.
I was just saying, I don't think return to home is default as a failsafe on INAV when you set up a fixed wing. It's defaults as drop.
It's not a default. No, it's not.
No.
You have to enable it.
Would that be a decent feature to add for if you're setting up a fixed wing model? Why would you not want it to return to home?
I thought it was.
No.
It's because not all models have GPS.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay. If you set GPS, then I don't know.
Yeah, but when you're doing the defaults, it doesn't know that at that point. You have to set it up in the ports and everything first. But
I normally set my planes up at 3 a.m. after a few brandies. So anything that can help me in that regard is appreciated.
Yeah,
because
I get what you mean, and it would be handy, but yeah, we can't set the GPS up because we don't know what port you are. Well, port it's on. So, and there are people that do fly without GPS, so it's safer not to set it at return to home. But everything else we sort of set for return to home ready as far as fixed wing goes, like the fail-safe mode and that sort of thing. But sorry, I just opened up the code. But yeah, without the GPS, the return to home wouldn't work. So it's probably just safer to leave it.
So what would happen without if you had return to home set, but you didn't have GPS fitted? What would happen?
It lands. I think the default is landing, and so I've had this happen before, where all of a sudden you go into failsafe, and you have no control of the radio of the plane because you're out of radio range, and then it starts to land, and then like the last possible second, it picks up my radio range. I come out of failsafe and get the plane back, land it, and like I'm scared to death because it's going down wherever it's at. Bring it back. The first thing you do, even the OSD, you can set it.
Yeah, I think it will just default as if it had a GPS, but then there was a fault with it, so it would probably just emergency land.
Just loiter. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It could work then.
potentially, I guess. Yeah. I guess.
I was flying with a buddy a few years ago from neighbor city, and he was a real redneck. He built a complete, or he has built his planes completely from scratch himself, and he had one he called the, how was the name? I'm not sure. I forgot how he named it. Some kind of duck. Anyway, this guy was flying long range without flight controller, just pure plane receiver with a Graupner system, and his kind of, he didn't even have RSSI telemetry or link quality or anything. So the only way for him to recognize, okay, I'm getting out of range or it's getting bad, was when his RC link signal was starting to stutter. So the plane had laggy inputs, and that was his sign. Okay, I'm close to out of range. I have to turn around. But he was not flying with flight controller. If he lost the RC link, the plane is gone. This was really crazy. I didn't got that. I couldn't fly long range without a flight controller. I mean, it even would be, in my opinion, too dangerous. You never know what happens with the plane. If it cuts off, it could glide for 1-2 kilometers and land everywhere. So for me, the flight controller and GPS is also a safety setup for other people, not only for my plane.
So, Crunkle Floop, how far are you flying out on that plane you showed us earlier?
So it's set to, basically, it's only ever used for waypoint flights, and it's set to continue in the event of failsafe. I haven't pushed it far yet, but it cruises at about 3 amps at about 60 kilometers an hour, and I'm just building an 8,400 milliamp lithium-ion pack, which should give it an hour and a half flight time. So however far I can get out and back in an hour and a half, I could probably just about make it from where I am around the Isle of Wight and back again, just about. It's about 100 kilometer round trip.
So Luke and I should be looking out our windows then for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Or you could get the Bullet GCSS link from me and watch it live.
It does sound like a very interesting system, I must admit.
It's good fun. I mean, it's a plane I built from the spare bits I had. So if I push it too far and it goes in the drink, then it would be a shame, but it's not the end of the world. It's not like I put my love and tears and blood into it. But it's good fun. It's just a whole different dynamic. And the exciting thing is, I don't know what it's seen until I get back, until it gets back, and I get the card on the computer. The other thing I've done with it is it's completely waterproof. So even the servo horns, they're packed with Vaseline. It's completely sealed. So I'm waiting for a good thunderstorm so I can just send it up through that, which should be quite fun.
Yeah, definitely. That would be awesome.
So I don't know how far you guys live from each other, but it sounds like, is it possible you could have this on access so you can share the passphrase with Darren, and that you can actually take off from where you live and he can land it where he lives?
No, because I use Crossfire.
All right. So you can take out that.
He could probably fly back and forwards between our places about 5 times going on that sort of battery.
Yeah, we're about, what are we, 20 miles as the crow flies?
Yeah, like it's not. It's probably about half an hour to an hour to drive. Well, at the moment, probably 3 hours with all the people going down that way to the beach. But yeah, we're not far away at all. We do keep saying we need to meet up and go fly somewhere, but yeah, not happened yet. But definitely.
By the way,
Luke along as well, since he's now not busy.
By the way, just saying this takeover of the plane and then take over control and then send it back, for example, and the other one takes over again. This also works with FrSky because you have the redundancy feature. You can just put 2 receivers in the plane. and bind one receiver with one radio, the other receiver with the other radio, and then you can switch between the radios.
That's actually a real brilliant point.
Just to embellish a little conversation I was having in chat, this is the kind of small plane that I need really small PWM receivers for. This whole plane weighs about 16 grams. So the 4.3 gram Crossfire 6-channel PWM receiver isn't really going to cut it. That's a third of the weight of the plane nearly. So yeah, this has a tiny little DSMX receiver, which is literally the same size as my fingernail, and weighs about half a gram. So yeah,
crazy stuff there. Yeah, but so far done send a plane from one person to another person. That might be a nice little goal for the group, to set that up and be the first ones to do that.
I'd be up for that. Definitely. It's a sort of crazy thing I'd do. The other thing I'm planning to do at some point is to set a waypoint flight and launch the plane, jump in the car, and drive hell for leather. Try and get to the landing point before the plane does, so I can actually land it. So that yeah.
Yeah, we actually. Oh, jeez.
That should be all right with your new car as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say that there's a spot here in California. You go along the Salton Sea. It's like about a 30-mile drive along the sea, where you could literally do that. You can launch a plane, and then like every 5 to 10 miles, stop, pull over the side of the road, watch your plane fly by on video, get in your car, keep driving. And then you get to the end of the drive, 30 miles, and you can land your plane.
Sounds like you're volunteering, Steve.
I've been talking about that for a couple of years now, yeah, but I would love to do that.
Yeah,
it's about 4 hours away.
I also had the idea to plan something like that. Especially we have a autobahn, a freeway that goes from my city here to the city nearby where I grew up. It's around a 45 kilometer trip, and this freeway goes completely past it's pretty far away from any village or city or whatever. So if I program a waypoint mission like 200-300 meters away, parallel to that autobahn, I will not cross any villages or whatever. And so I could launch the plane from one of the parking places. You have, I'm not sure how it's in the US, but in Germany we have like parking spaces every few kilometers on our freeways. And I could launch the plane there, send it on the mission.
We call them rest stops.
Yeah, rest stops. Yeah, exactly. And then drive the autobahn. And basically, when I have a second person on the passenger seat, he could use a laptop, for example, to monitor the plane in flight, so I can adapt my speed and drive beside the plane. It would be very cool. Someday I have to do that.
One thing that was kind of interesting is that it's a little bit off topic here, but there's a facility near where I live. So FedEx put a ground facility next to the Chino airport, and it made absolutely no sense whatsoever to do this because the ground people don't use the air at all. Everything's shipped via ground, via either it goes on trucks or rail, but that's it. It does not go. But why did they put this facility right next to an airport? It turns out that the president of FedEx is really into the whole idea of autonomous flight. So what I'd looked at was that he pretty much, you can take off in this airport and go over about 6 buildings, but then the rest of the flight you could be over forests and everything else, even in Southern California, and you could essentially do things like flights from Chino to Hawaii completely autonomously. So I think that long term they're looking at things like that right now. That's kind of like one of the big things they're looking at. So it's kind of taking this into a next level kind of thing. Well, yeah. So any other topics? Because we are up on the 2-hour mark right here. Yeah, I think this was nice. I did really enjoy this type of just free thinking, free flowing. Usually we have guests here where we had to ask them all about themselves. But we've had Kunkelfloof here a couple times now. We know everything there is about him, so it's just great to have you. It's great to just have a good general chat, kind of cover everything, and really want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you for scraping the barrel and inviting me along.
Oh, it's great, and it's great to have Luke here now. Luke said we can talk about his girlfriend, but give me a dirty look if I can't talk about his girlfriend.
It wasn't that we could talk about our girlfriend. There was no reason we couldn't.
She's a very lovely woman, and she stuck around with you now for a number of months. So this is really exciting. This is it. Now that you're out of college and you got the serious job, the new pad, she'll start talking about the future, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that.
Yeah, everyone tells me I need to worry about kids, so I really hope that isn't a worry. But
worry about kids.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't worry, there's no plan.
Miss here with PIDS every time.
PIDS.
Miss
Oh,
here.
PIDS. Oh,
Yeah.
what's that about PIDS? Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, that's great. Congratulations. Darren. Anything? I've been watching your videos. You have like the best help videos that there are, and so I think I'm out of focus now for whatever reason.
It's because you're dancing about the microphone. That's what it is.
Oh. Okay, so back to you.
Back to me. What was the question?
What are you working on now? That
building an iNav model. The whole video series is aimed at people who haven't done it before. So even like gluing stuff together, soldering. So yeah, getting that all working, which hopefully will help get more people in the hobby.
Oh, yeah, like I'm looking right now. I'm seeing like the focus is like about 1 inch.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. This is a soft focus field. I look so much better, so much younger now. All the wrinkles are gone. So yeah, that I'll be following that because I have to put one of those together as well. It's just great plane. It's been sitting here for a number of months. I want to put a Dolphin together. So there are some little secrets I'm sure I've heard along the way where you have to fix it. So it'll be good to see little tips and tricks. I'm sure that you're going to add to the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way I've done the capacitor on the ESC works really nicely. So that's a good one to watch out for. But to be honest, it's going together quite nicely.
Perfect. Mark, what are you working on for the next foreseeable future?
Some videos and the NanoTrack. So yeah, the NanoTrack will keep me busy for the next few weeks. Maybe I try to get it finished before I go to England. So when I visit Glenn. But by the way, Luke, Darren, or Krunkel, if you have some time in the last week of August, then you might come up to Grimsby and visit Glenn and me.
Where is Grimsby?
It's in the East Coast, pretty high up. Yeah.
You got to watch the Sacha Baron Cohen film though first. If we're just discussing general stuff that we've been doing, I just want to put something out there and actually thank Jetrel, who he's a really unsung person on the iNav side. He basically downloads the master all the time, tests out new features, makes really great suggestions. And one of the ones he's made is to try and make it easier to find people on iNav radar, and that's what I've been testing recently. And if you've used it before, you got like the 3 arrows either side, which if they're further around the screen, these arrows come up, but they're not very intuitive. And his idea was to use like a compass. So the compass is now pointing directly at the person, and it's working a treat. So thank you very much for that. And
I'm in love with that. That's such a great idea.
I mean, he comes up with some really great ideas, but not many people know about him who aren't the developers. But he does a lot of work for iNav, but not on the development side. And thank you for that.
What's his name
he's
again?
In Australia. He goes under Jetrel. But yeah, he's in Australia, so he'll probably watch this later. But yeah, thank you.
Big thumbs up to Jethro. That's fantastic. Well, I guess, Mark, we covered everybody, and so we'll bid everyone a farewell, and we'll catch you next time on Wing Talk. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.